peeps, and welcome back to the Paradigm. I hope you enjoyed that clip right there, showcasing the great All-American Ron Simmons from World Championship Wrestling during 1990, little parts of 1991, but mostly through 1992, in his quest and his journey to become the first black World Heavyweight Champion in World Championship Wrestling at that time. It's definitely a pretty cool montage of what Simmons did during that year, specifically during the back end of the year as the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. But as I said prior to showing you the video, I would elaborate a lot more in regards to his reign, in regards to what led up to his reign. Now, as I mentioned before, Ron Simmons he received a pretty big push in late 1991, specifically during the fall of that year, and I believe it was extremely rushed by WCW to do this, but it planted the seed for what they would eventually do in 1992 when Bill Watts came into play, and he became the executive vice president of the company at that time. And what Bill Watts saw in Ron Simmons as, all right, this cat is going to be like my junkyard dog. He's going to be like my Ernie Ladd, so to speak. This guy, there is a place for African Americans in pro wrestling, and I think that's what Bill Watts' perspective was at the time. And why shouldn't they get a really top spot in a company? And I think Bill Watts wanted to shake things up, just like he did in Mid-South with the Junkyard Dog. And after Vader won the world's title from Sting, personally, I feel that WCW should have given Vader a longer run with the belt before putting it on Simmons. I would have put it on Simmons probably at Starrcade of 1992 instead of when they did it. And basically, you had Simmons come out of nowhere, really, and win this championship. But about a few weeks prior to him winning the title from Vader, Bill Watts was really building him up as a guy that, hey, he's had a world championship match before, and he came up short, barely short. He almost beat Lex Luger a year ago. So he's proven himself about 9 months later, and it's time for him to get another shot. And they gave him this shot, and unexpectedly, from a lot of viewers, I remember watching this as a kid, out of nowhere, he beats Vader, and he becomes the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Everybody goes nuts, and it was definitely a shocker, as I said. And what WCW didn't understand is that although it was a pretty good idea in the short term to put the title on someone like Ron Simmons, he was unable to really carry the championship for the long run. And that's where you had a lot of problems with WCW trying to match him up with talent. It was really difficult for them to match him up with people. I mean, when he's facing guys like the Barbarian for the World Championship at a big show, it just doesn't seem right. I think his best match he had was, I believe, during Halloween Havoc of 1992. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he was facing Ravishing Rick Rude. And I think that was probably his most credible match. And you have Rude, of course, as the United States champion, and he had that championship for about a year. If with the right build, that match could have really been something big. And just as Rick Rude helped out the Ultimate Warrior, and I'm not no way comparing Ron Simmons with the Warrior, but in terms of Rick Rude's ability to help out top talent who are baby faces, and they're world champions, but they don't have necessarily the in-ring skills as he does, was a great decision by WCW to think like that. But I would have extended that angle much longer than what they did. It was basically a few weeks, and they put together something for a show. And I think that was the wrong route for WCW to go. If you're going to go with that angle, you need to extend it. similar to what Rick Rude and the Warrior were. I mean, that was extended for years with some breaks in between, but they had a history. But that was basically Ron Simmons' title reign in WCW. He wasn't really facing any top-notch heels in terms of a long program. He didn't have a long program with them. It were just really short programs that you knew were just filler for pay-per-views. I mean, I don't even think Ron even main evented a pay-per-view as the world champion, and I know he was the champion during Halloween Havoc, and I know he was the champion during Starrcade, which is really forgettable when you really think about it, which is sad considering that he was the first Black World's champion. But also during this period, it was a lot of turmoil too. Before you knew it, you had issues with Bill Watts, his creative issues, and his issues with upper management. So although Bill Watts had a plan of Simmons being like the junkyard dog, except he's given a shot as the world champion. There was really no strong long-term and short-term direction in WCW to actually give Ron Simmons an opportunity to shine and to give him a strategic plan in regards to how he would be booked in the short and the long term. And I think that was the issues that you saw. And if you look back at the tapes and you see the progression of Ron Simmons as the world champion, you will see some of those issues coming up. But that was basically it for Ron Simmons. I mean, he was the WCW champion, and when he lost the championship, I believe, back to Vader, it was as if he wasn't on that level anymore. And you have to question, did WCW rush him too soon? I mean, did they profile him way too soon? Did it have to do something with Simmons' skill? Was he ready yet?